What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Jack Ramsays postgame show. I'm your co-host, Danny Marang, joined as always by Brandon Sprague, or in this case, the framing of Brandon Sprague's head, as he's slowly getting involved here. Speaking of slowly getting involved, the Portland Trailblazers fall tonight 124-121. Connor Strong already with the first observation of the night here in the comments. CJ looked like the leader tonight. CJ did lead everybody out there for the Portland Trailblazers. He was
14 to 24, 34 points. Not a bad night.
Yeah, screw it. Let's call that, I guess, let's just call that the takeaway tonight, because he was incredible. 14 to 24, he gets 6 of 11 from 3, 34 points, 5 assists, 6 rebounds, 3 steals. Not a very normal CJ night in the sense of absolutely just shotgunning the scoreboard, the box score. He was fantastic, Sprague. I believe he started 2 for 6 on the night, or even 2 for 7. He looked a little off to start the game, but 34, 5, and 6, man, that's a hell of a stat line to kind of give him his praise, but also at the same time go, you got that from CJ, and you still needed a near miracle to fall short. That's a tough pill to swallow.
I actually think a lot of their stats are really inflated, and I don't think they represent what the game was tonight.
Do you think that's true for CJ?
We talked about yes and no.
Okay.
I thought he was kind of pretty out of it the whole first half. Wasn't really wowed by anything he did. He turned it on for sure. I mean, without him, they have no chance of coming back.
They're not in the game.
The second half. No, but I think you could say that about Cody Zeller. I think you could say that about Nasir Little. I think you could say that about Anthony Simons. Like they had little runs by those guys tonight to be able to this point. They had some very fortunate things kind of go their way. De'Aaron Fox's shoe comes off. It bounces off the ball. Tyrese Halliburton, a pretty solid ball handler, fumbling the ball on an inbounds pass. Like those things just don't happen. And so I don't know. At the end, I know I sound kind of pessimistic, but man, I was really disappointed with that effort tonight. I would say 85% of that game was absolutely horrific. And if that's the basketball they're going to play, they're going to expect to be on the losing end of a lot of things. We can talk about the positives, a couple I just named there, but I'm not really looking at a lot of stat lines tonight going, oh my God, he was great. I mean, he was good kind of shooting the ball a lot at the end, but they did not play solid defense. Their offense was very stale. Their second unit was better than their starting unit for most of this game. So I don't know. We can dive into a bunch of things. I'm not looking at stat lines tonight. I thought it was misleading. I was pretty disappointed with the stats tonight.
We'll kind of roll back into the stat lines. I'm thinking to go kind of grand scheme thing. First of all, welcome everybody in here. Jabaspi, Brew Jones, Musa, Nibbles, Sam, Justin, Eric. A lot of familiar faces, a lot of new ones in here. Thank you guys so very much. If you haven't already, please subscribe here on the YouTube channel. If you haven't as well, subscribe to the podcast. We're available wherever you get your podcast. Just search Jack Ramsays, and if you got the time, go ahead and leave us a review. Kind of diving into the overall scheme, I think you can divorce the fourth quarter from the other 3 quarters. I think you can really divorce the first half. The first half was a dumpster fire. They had double-digit turnovers. They had double-digit fouls. They were sloppy. They looked very much not even like shades of preseason, but carried over directly from the preseason. It was ugly. Then they came out in the beginning of the third, and it looked a lot of the same. But they tightened up their ball control. They had 10 turnovers at the half. They finished with 12. So there was they
13. Well, it doesn't matter.
They depending on which. When I looked at the box score a few minutes ago, they finished with 12. They may have had one last one there, but overall the first half was a dumpster fire. It looked very much like the preseason. Guys were just lost on multiple ends, particularly the starters, which. You're talking about this offense and doing this, and it's going to be that. They looked like crap. The starting unit looked very bad, particularly in the first quarter. Thankfully, the Kings were not hitting their open threes in the first quarter. Otherwise, they would have gotten snowballed and buried. Push forward a little bit in the first quarter. That bench unit comes in, and the energy is there. Cody Zeller, Larry Nance Jr., Anthony Simons, Nasir Little. They looked like they gave slightly more damns.
They played hard, man.
They did.
That was my big takeaway from the first half. Despite what they were down, it was Cody Zeller, Anthony Simons, Nasir Little, 3 dudes that got some minutes and said, "I give a damn. I'm playing hard." And it was kind of reminiscent at the start of this game to the Phoenix preseason game, where it just kind of felt like Sacramento missed a lot of shots, and if they didn't, that lead could have been more than just one. And I still am kind of baffled by that first half by that unit. To see those second unit guys come off the bench and play as hard as they did. Sometimes effort is good enough, and I thought you saw the difference between settling for bad shots, not much ball movement, as you documented on Twitter. One pass shot.
The first 5 possessions were ugly, and they were. Yeah. It wasn't like, oh, that's Stott's ball. That's preseason ball. Yeah, that's what I saw a ton of. I was like, that's rat ball right there. That doesn't look very good.
To kind of defend your stance here, I don't know what the role it played, but if you were someone that was a career coach and you said you're sitting on my couch with me saying, Sprague, they look like a team that didn't play a serious game one time in the preseason, and this is their first time doing it. I wouldn't really argue with that point. Maybe that's the one area of preseason that matters, is having a game where you give a damn in the half, because they look lethargic, and it was encouraging to see Ant. I thought Ant should have gotten more minutes. Nasir Little had a nice run, and Cody Zeller was just kind of Mr. Blazer tonight for everybody.
So, couple things. One, thank you all for coming in. We're falling over 110 people pouring in here right now. I'm assuming that's probably why Sprague's internet's just going a little sideways right now. I'm going to blame it on that right now. A few people have already noted that the Park Rose internet is not hanging on very well.
If it keeps acting up, I'll just go to my living room or something.
You're buzzing just a little bit. I think we're going to be okay. We'll kind of get on a ton, or get a ton here done here real quick. I'm seeing some trade Dame for Ben. Yeah, let's go ahead and hang that up. Will, and Pre says that if the refs kind of Powell's 3 from way earlier in the game, we would have won. Okay, side note, I didn't know, nobody knew. If you knew, you're a psychopath, that they could remove a shot entirely. I knew that they could take it a 3 to a 2 or a 2 to a 3. I did not know that they could remove it. That's a new thing.
Define. Okay, are you talking about the norm when he stepped on the foot and got him? I didn't know they could do that either. There were 2 things I was confused about tonight, and I know we'll get to some other things. Yeah, that was very confusing to me, and it really wasn't explained on the broadcast.
It's just like, oh yeah, by the way, it's gone.
Right, it just disappeared. It's like, wait, what happened here? It was a glitch. And then the review. Was anybody else confused by the review? The foul stood.
Oh, it was unsuccessful, successful review.
It was an unsuccessful, because the challenge was the continuation, but they said no shot, but there's a foul. I don't know. I was kind of confused by that. So that didn't make any sense.
It was a little crazy. Getting back to let's talk grand scheme rotation wise. Nasir Little's the first guy off the bench.
Yeah,
I was a little bit surprised, considering number 1, Nas is on a minutes restriction. Number 2, he hasn't really played, and I thought Ant played well. Nas comes in, and I thought his box score, he finishes 3 of 5. Nothing crazy, but energy wise, he did what needed to be done. Obviously, he had that one possession where, he gets up, probes the defense, kicks it back out, resets, gets the offensive rebound, relocates to the opposite corner, gets able to catch and shoot, knock down that 3. That kind of personified the evening for him as far as being an energy and hustle guy. But we've noted already a couple times, the starters didn't have any vibes. They were vibeless. It was flat. It was ugly in that regard. But Nas came in. He brought that first little bit of oomph. Then Cody Zeller got on the floor. He brought a lot of 40-year-old dads right now are pumping their chest, man. Cody Zeller is let me see, a grinder, a real high IQ, a real coach's guy. How many more white guy? Rat. Yeah, Jim Rat. How many more white guy euphemisms I can throw in there? But I
mean, shout out Estacada. They were going crazy for him.
Oh, they were losing their mind for him. Good Lord. When they go play the Thunder and OKC, that crowd is going to be like, wow, we need a Cody Zeller here.
It's one of us.
But I also thought he did do some things.
He did.
The dunk was fantastic. That might be it. Eric Peterson, Cody Prisbilla. That's pretty good.
Let's wait a little while, but it really was reminiscent of what the Vanilla Gorilla did back in the
Yeah.
day, was it not?
Yeah, dunk, hustle, mean mug a little bit, get physical, extra tips. Not a ton in the box score, but every time he was on the floor, you're like, yeah, no, you knew he was out there.
Can I just? That's kind of my point, though. Like you just made my point.
Yeah.
And this is it. Look, CJ played well in the second half. He was awful in the first half. It's okay to
the
say
first quarter. The whole starting lineup was bad.
It was embarrassing.
Yeah.
And that's your second highest paid player. There are expectations to this stuff, man. It's not just, well, you got two good players. You just made my point. The box score of Zeller and Little, to me, don't represent what they did when
impact.
they did it.
Yeah.
And I think, like you brought up Nurkic. Nurkic's box score is the most misleading box score you're going to see in that box score tonight. Because to me, he wasn't impactful enough, and he was impactful when it was too little too late.
Yeah.
So to me, I don't look at the box score for these games. These games are really sometimes judged off feel, and I'm really going off that tonight. And Zeller, Little, I'd have to pull up how many minutes Ant played, but I kept saying, like, play this kid, man. This kid is aggressive. He seems confident. He's making good decisions. He had a clean pass to Zeller in the paint. He didn't make every shot.
I want to touch on Nurk real quick.
He was shooting it. He wasn't afraid.
I want to touch on Nurk real quick, and we'll swing back.
Okay.
Nibble kind of hits on this. 14 rebounds against a tiny team are less impressive. So Nurk, his stat line at the end, 20, 14, and 2, 6 of 10 from the field. Knocked down his free throws. The thing is, most of that came in the fourth quarter, which you want your guy to be out there in winning time, but part of the reason why you're lagging behind is because one of your big three, alongside Dame, is choking. He had flip shots. He was gambling, taking cheap ticky-tack fouls, and it was not great. And you kind of go, but if you look back at the end of the night, the final 5 minutes, he was there. He made the impact plays. He walled off against Fox. I don't know what Luke Walton was thinking. I don't know what the Kings were thinking. Nobody ever does.
That's
Their
the Kings,
offense,
man.
Their offense was clicking all night. They had a little bit of a lead with 5 minutes to go, and they just stood and watched the Aaron Fox straight line drive into Yusuf Nurkic over and over and I was make
like
one
you're not getting the
one
foul call
pass.
here.
Make one pass, and you're going to have an open shot. What are you doing?
Danny, the odds are that Harrison Barnes was open at least 14 times in that last 5 minutes from three, because, what was the point of defending him tonight?
Well, they didn't.
I mean,
that was the thing, is they didn't defend him.
This is tough, man, because this is a game. You got to win this game. Your schedule's not easy, and I'm not saying they won't play better or they won't improve in certain areas. I would expect a better game. As my thing says, my connection is unstable right now, so I'm sorry if I cut out.
Yeah.
But I just, you play this way, man, and you're gonna get beat more often than you are gonna get the win. So I wasn't very encouraged tonight. There were some positives. I won't refute that, but the positives do not outweigh what we saw for that first half and even into that third quarter.
All right, let's talk about Anthony Simons. I can never wait to do this. He was one of the last guys to come off the bench. And let me double check that I've got everything right here. So he finished 11-4-2. He did get the second nod there. I have it 11-2-1. He was effective, man. He was just getting it done. The running skyhook to start the night off.
Wow.
Had me go, that's certainly something new in the bag.
I said out loud all by myself, I said, Danny's grabbing the lotion on that one. Are you kidding me? 6'5" Anthony Simons.
Brought to you by Lubriderm.
Johnsons and Johnsons.
Oh, man. It was just, he did most of his work, Sprague, in the paint tonight. Not only shooting, but creating. He got a couple hockey assists. He just picked his points and just right on time. Obviously, he absolutely yammed as well. We got what I think we wanted out of Anthony Simons tonight. One of the things that I kept kind of hammering on in the offseason, listen, you get 12-4 from Ant night in, night out. Sprague, he came in later than everybody else, and then he basically ran 12 minutes, 13 minutes straight. He played the last, I think, 2 minutes of the first quarter, and he didn't come out until about 1:30 to go in the second. So he basically played a whole quarter.
Yeah, and I still wanted more.
And I think that's the biggest compliment you can give him, and the most confidence I think you can say you put into him is saying, hey, man, look, you got a lot out of him. You probably could have got more out of him. Maybe you take a look at expanding that role just a little bit more. Let's talk about the ugly side of this. The Blazers have a guy in a Damian Lillard, Sprague, who not great tonight.
No, he had an off night. 0 for 9 for 3.
8 of 24, 0 for 9, 20, 11, and 6. You look at the box score, pretty damn decent box score. The shooting percentages.
It's not bad at all, but you did not feel the normal Lillard impact. You know what I mean? Like the numbers look fine. That actually looks like a good line.
Until you look at the shooting splits.
And then you look at the splits, and then if you watch the game, like you just didn't feel an impact from him, and that doesn't normally happen.
No, and I thought Lillard did a great job in one respect, in that early on when their offense was broken, when he came back with that second unit, he got into a little bit more pick and roll, which is where we got the Cody Zeller dunk. You started to see, hey, this whole egalitarian thing, that's great and all, but let's butter what has buttered this bread has been Damian Lillard pick and roll. Let's establish that. I likened it on Twitter to establishing the run. Let's establish the run. Hey, even if you know it's coming, nobody has really been great at stopping this. So let's get downhill with that, and then let's see where things go from that. And I found it at least a little bit funny that the Blazers offense got on track when they did two things. They featured Damian Lillard pick and roll, and CJ got going in isolation. It was kind of like, we're falling back on that already.
Where have we seen that before? I texted the homie Richmond and I said, hey, thoughts? And all he said was, what did he say? It's, oh man, I got to read this text. Hold on, give me a second.
Oh no, it's our show, so we can.
He said they stink in a very familiar way.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where they kind of fell back on some familiar habits. I think you're going to see this. Let's talk again grand scheme overall, because this is what I think people are going to want to have questions about: the defense. What did you see tonight, good, bad, or otherwise, that you were like, okay, I can see something here, or I didn't see enough of what I needed to see here? What's Sprague 10,000-foot view of the defense overall?
I will commend them on this, at least, like defensively late in that game. And you kind of already hit on this, so I don't know how much credit they get. Sacramento couldn't get anything going those last 5 minutes. They damn near handed that game to Portland. And look, I'll give them credit because they were turnovers and missed shots. But I got to see more defensively. You can't just take the last 5 minutes and ignore everything prior to that. They were at times they looked worse than they did last year at times. Like, it was amazing that Harrison Barnes, of his 7 threes, I think 4 of them he had at least 6 feet of space. I mean, you had maybe more than that. You had guys that weren't even near him, and I'm just, what are we doing? You got back to your old preseason habits, a couple up fakes, one dribble in, smooth shot for the Kings. It's like they you said it. They fell back into old habits, and that's what I want to go to is I just don't know if they're habits so much as they just are who they are. You know what I mean? Like how many times are you going to call something a habit for a guy who's played in the league for 10 years, a guy who's played in the league for 9 years, a guy who's been in this system for 5 years, 5.5, 6 years, whatever the hell it is. I don't know how many times you can call that habits, more so just saying that's kind of who they are defensively.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of a bigger scheme of what we kind of have talked about really this whole preseason is how much of this can you really change in guys who are 30 years old. You're not talking about 22, 23, 24-year-old guys and changing habits. It's not a team full of Nasir Littles and Anthony Simons. It's a bunch of 27, 30, 31-year-olds. It's a big difference. Pre-game, we talked about like it, love it, leave it. Where did you end up on your love it, like it, leave it scale?
My love it did not come through. My like it probably turned into my love it because I loved what I saw from Anthony Simons tonight. Yep. And my leave it was exactly what my leave it was. It was their defense.
Yeah.
It's a huge thing that let them out tonight. So, but the leave it did and the like it did.
Yeah, I think we both came out on our like it's as far as getting what we wanted to see out of the young guys. You took Ant, I had Nasir Little. We both kind of landed on the same one defensively. What did we not want to see? Well, defensively, we saw. I think the frustrating thing for me defensively is not that things are broken. It's that the same mistakes were being made. And I'm not talking about the same mistakes of the past era. I'm talking about leaving the same guy over and over and over again. There was a possession late in the game there where they loaded to De'Aaron Fox in the left corner, and you saw Cove dig in ever so slightly, just a step too far, but a step too far in the NBA is what beats you. Ended up turning into a three. I believe it was Halliburton and actually not Barnes in that possession. But it was the slightest little bit of growth. It was like, oh, look at that. Everybody was kind of on a string because you saw Rocco trying to take away that cross-court corner pass that just murdered them in the preseason when they were trying to not overcommit. And that was like, oh, okay, I see a little bit there. But it took 4 quarters to get to that one play where it was like, oh, okay, because they were getting cooked on straight line drives. The same point of attack issues were still propping up. Nurk was still grabbing guys, Cove was over-rotating because he didn't trust anybody at the point of attack. It was just, and again, it's going to be a process, but I think both of us are looking at our leave-its right now going, yeah, I'd like to leave that behind. I kind of did an impromptu poll on Twitter, and thank you everybody who responded. This one, I got a lot of responses. I said, I'm not going to say this is going to continue, more of taking the temperature. How many games are you, the collective you, going to be okay with things looking like this and gestures at this game in general? How patient are you willing to be? I'm just going to kind of read a couple of these off, Brandon. Tell me if you're kind of in between here. Kyle Nishida, shout out Nishida. I said 20 games for the defensive issue because 10 is unreasonable, but only 5 games for the offensive. They spent all offseason saying the offense was better than fine. I think that's pretty darn
Chauncey,
good.
I just made a spoof thing, and I went through old clips. Chauncey, at the press conferences, he thought he could make this offense even better than what they were last year.
Yeah, that's...
I don't know how you get better than what they were last year offensively.
I mean, they technically can get one spot better than what they were overall.
I guess we'll have to wait on that because we didn't see a lot of that today.
We love our Ducks and Blazers. I like watching a different schematic, even if we're losing. That sounds wretched and painful.
Sounds
I'm sorry.
Kind of depressing, yeah.
I'm a glutton for punishment. This is going to be a long season. We're going to be so bad. The 3-point shooting is bizarre. 10 to 15 games. Considering the team has only gotten worse, I'm not sure what to expect. Shout out Ian Carmel, the patron saint of our podcast. 60 to 70 years, which is what he put at. And I think we may have lost Sprague. He's frozen solid here. No, there he is. He's back and he's laughing. Not sure, but still looks like they're struggling a bit defending the three.
These tweets are great.
Oh, it's just Billups is given 2 years at minimum, so it can't be any lower than that. However long it takes until we trade CJ for Ben Simmons. And by the way... By the way, I did not take this impromptu poll at the end of the game. This was like third quarter when they were making their run, kind of getting back into things, and the second unit came in. You saw a little bit of life. So, yeah, I always think around game 25, you have a pretty good idea of what kind of team you're going to look like. My fandom was born in 2005. I'll be fine. 15 games, about 19 minutes of game time. Show me something. 8 games with things looking exactly like this. Then just a gif of the dumpster fire floating down the river. What record would you have to be to attain 500 at the 15-game mark? Yeah, so just I give them 10 to 12 games. So it seems to be the common thread here is 10 to 20, give or take, or burn it all now, set it on fire, please God, no.
Well, your tenants, I spoke that into existence today, and that's a different topic for a different day. You know, I'm going to stick with our original. I know my internet keeps cutting out. I'm so sorry about this. I'm going to stick with the original opinion on this. I'm going to say 20 games.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. The worry about going to 20 to 25 to even 30, go look at that schedule. That is a really, really tough schedule for them. And
the first 30
if you're
games
struggling with the Kings are brutal. And if you're struggling with the Kings, you know, can I just highlight that nobody wanted to say this, but how odd and weird was it that the star franchise player had to take the microphone to say, we're not going to be perfect?
Yeah, you noticed that to just start the game, huh?
That was the pregame message. Welcome back. We're not going to be perfect. What are we doing here? What are we doing here?
Yeah, so you and I talked about this a ton, kind of leading up to the last preseason game, of how the messaging was, hey, no, we're getting buy-in. We're getting buy-in. Things are it's okay. It's okay. And then the last 5 days, we got the full court press of, it's going to be a hot minute, guys. Well, I think it's going to be a hot minute. And that is, I am not condemning this team. If anybody who's heard me before, yes, I'm having a little bit of a laugh right now because of how much the team oversold this stuff. And this is why, like, part of the Olshey stuff and why he has driven me so crazy for so many years is that they just don't know when to stop. But I'm still going to give them time. There's good things that happened tonight. The bench unit guys looked good. The bench looks like it could be capable. Like, legitimately looks like it has the makings of guys that, if Ant is a 12-4, 12-5 guy, Nasir Little is a dyed-in-the-wool hustle guy. Cody Zeller is a competent defender who can come in and give you energy, give you physicality, set some hard screens. I'm a Larry Nance Jr. guy, and I think he's going to be better. I was a little disappointed in him tonight. He looked like he was on a different song.
Yeah.
That's the way I want to put it. Like, he was, I think he's trying too hard to blend in as opposed to just being himself and stepping on some toes. I'd rather him do that, I think, in overall. But man, the starting lineup sucked outside of CJ as far as, like, they just, Cov and Norm just weren't that impactful. Nurk didn't do a damn thing until the fourth quarter. Dame couldn't hit a shot, and sloppy play just marred the whole first half.
And now you get Phoenix Saturday, who just lost at home, and how pissed.
And they struggled too. I had that going on the other screen, and
so did I.
They did not look great.
Denver's good. I told that to Sam, your friend Sam.
Esfandiari, yep.
Esfandiari. I said Denver's a sneaky pick to win the West. They looked really good tonight.
Yeah, so I think, again, it's 81 more games. They are just 0-1. This is me saying, listen,
But Danny, it's the Kings. I think that's the thing that's sticking with people. It's not. We're not talking about the Milwaukee. You lost to the Kings. I got a friend that works in San Francisco, and he covers the Warriors for a radio station. He tweeted after this game, hot take, the Kings could be a play-in tournament team. And I thought, Jesus, Blazers just lost to this opinion? This is where we're at in year 7? Like, that, I'm not saying grand conclusions from the game. I'm just saying I get why people are frustrated.
Yeah.
You lost, and you were down by double digits to the Sacramento Kings for most of the night.
Yeah, they made it closer than it was for 3.5 quarters. And that's the thing is, there's certainly offensive talent on this team. There's no doubt about that. So they'll figure that part of it out. We're going to go ahead and keep these right about 30 minutes, guys. We'll get Brandon's internet fixed, and I'll get my tech issues that we had the pregame show sorted out for the Phoenix game. And again, thank you all so very much for hanging out. We'll have more and more and more. I've got pre- and post-game guests lined up for most of the season already. So please come by, hang out. If you haven't already, if you're watching right now on YouTube, click on the YouTube subscribe button, subscribe to the channel. We'd love to have you here. We'll have a ton of stuff coming. I've actually got something in the works right now that I think people have already asked for with kind of a Manning cast. I've got something in the works that I think you guys are really going to enjoy. So please subscribe here. Look up the podcast. Jack Ramsay's available wherever you get podcasts. We'll get Brandon out here because he's got to be up in like 3 hours to go talk about this disaster piece of a game and do it all over again. So thank you guys all so very much. For Brandon, I'm Danny. We'll catch you guys on Saturday for the Phoenix Suns. Actually, we'll catch you guys tomorrow for the live show where we'll dive a little bit deeper into this game and look ahead to Phoenix and kind of figure it out from there. Thank you.